fight on First Tuesday.
People often say to me over the years, well, you're not really a killer, etc., etc. You are.
David Ford was sentenced to life for a teenage killing. Now he's on the run, fighting for justice.
I've had enough of jail life, the politics of jail. I want no more part of it.
After 21 years in prison, should he keep on running or give himself up? Good evening. When he was 15 years old, David Ford killed his friend in a fight. 28 years later, he's still serving a life sentence for manslaughter. Murderers for whom the life sentence is mandatory spend an average of only 11 years in prison. But David's been locked up for twice that long. And for him, as for all lifers, the sentence never really ends. Even when they're released, they are supervised and they can be recalled to prison at any time. Utterly frustrated with this system, one which even now the Home Secretary has under review, David Ford absconded from jail. It was an attempt to escape his endless sentence, and First Tuesday filmed with him as he led the desperate life of a prisoner on the run.
Devon, February the 6th, 1965. Two boys fight, and one of them is killed. Aged 15, the other is convicted of manslaughter. He is sentenced to life imprisonment. Today, 28 years later, David Ford is still serving his sentence. In July 1992, he escaped from prison for the 4th time.
Look, I'm 43 years old. This has been going on since I was 15 years old. I've gone, what? And it's still going on. What do they want?
A lifer's sentence never ends. When he's let out of prison, it's always on licence. The Home Office can withdraw the licence for any reason, and he has to go back. Life means life.
Whether you're free legally, licence, or free illegally, it ain't no difference. You ain't free. It's somebody that's, it's like you're like a puppet on the string. They're telling you what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. I honestly don't know what to do anymore. I really don't.
David has spent longer in prison for manslaughter than most people spend for murder.
It's freaking me out now. It's beginning to freak me out. You can't imagine the pressures. It should never have happened. Somebody died in a punch-up. I didn't want it to happen. I didn't mean it to happen. Edward Fitzgerald says that if the appeal goes through, the sentence will be squashed just like that. I'd walk free. He's probably a very sincere man, a very idealistic man. At the end of the day, he doesn't do the time. At the end of the day, he doesn't spend 20 years in jail. Lawyers have fed me so much crap over the years. It's just so difficult to take their words. I mean, they stitched me up when I was a kid. Really stitched me up. Oh, it was embarrassing. 15-year-old boy, light him off, get him out of the way. 10 minutes the trial took.
Well, Edward, I'd just like to say thank you very much for being prepared to take on this case. It's David Ford. We briefly spoke on the telephone the other day. David Ford was, in 1965, a young lad of 15 convicted of manslaughter. He was let out in 1976 on licence but recalled, and subsequently let out again and recalled for very minor offences. I'd like, obviously, to see what we can do, and I'd be grateful for your advice as to where we can go from here.
I just don't feel I can go on paying for that. One tragic, stupid fight when I was a kid. I'm not a bad man, I'm not a dangerous man. I'm no risk to anybody. But I'm simply caught up in a situation where there's no alternative for me than to react the way I do.
David has escaped from prison 3 times in the last 4 years. The lawyers argue that David should never have been given life in the first place. The only way to overturn this sentence is to go to the Court of Appeal. But they can do nothing while he's still out on the run.
Oh, yes, my Lord. Sometimes I'm up, sometimes I'm down. Oh, yes, my Lord. Sometimes I'm almost to the ground. Oh, yes, my Lord. I wake up most mornings wondering if it's going to be another day out here, or my last day out here. I spend a lot of the day looking for employment because I need to support myself in order to feed myself. People help me, but you cannot expect people to support you all the time.
It is illegal to harbour an escaped prisoner. David finds shelter with friends and acquaintances. He makes what he can doing odd jobs, but he's been on the run 7 weeks and money is short.
I want to do me bit. It's just so fucking impossible. Even more difficult for me in the sense because I don't want to resort to crime. It's not my nature.
And David must keep on the move. Too long in one place and he could get caught. And it's too risky to go home.
This is where you come unstuck. You think, oh well, time has come to move on. You've got nowhere to go. Nowhere.
You've got no identity, really. You're a man from nowhere. It's very difficult because you have to invent a background for yourself. And that's what life is, on the run. Yeah. You work into?
Yeah.
All
people's homes are care assistants.
Oh, I've worked with one of them.
Have you?
Yeah. Sorry? No, down in Bognor.
Bognor?
Yeah, Sussex. Oh yeah, I only did about 3 months there, just sort of voluntary work really.
Yeah. It's better when you get paid for it.
I had a 79-year-old.
It's a bit easier when you get paid for it.
I had a 79-year-old girlfriend.
My boyfriend's about 89.
It's quite. It's excellent. Oh, all right, mate. Cheers.
Jackie,
Thirsty work.
right next,
Yeah.
pint of scotch and a half longer, please.
My kid comes first. He's got to. I'd die for the kid. Well, you've got kids of your own. You know, maybe you think twice about your wife, but if you know what I mean, you die for your kids naturally. The kid's all I got. The kid's all I got that's associated with freedom and love. It's the first thing in my life. I had nothing to do with the prison service, nothing to do with fucking Home Office, or whatever. But now they're robbing me of his life. He's paying the price now. I'm paying the price as well. But he's paying it greater than me. It's screwing his head up. Where's my dad? Why's my dad away? My dad's not a bad man.
Mum, can you hear me? Over. What are we having for dinner?
We've got lamb chops, carrots, roast potatoes and runner beans with mint sauce.
Mum, I'm going to come down and show you my model.
It's a very strange situation to be a partner of somebody who's absconded. I push it to the back of my mind as much as I can and just try and get on with my life and Christopher's, but it isn't easy. You're in limbo. You can't see them. You've only got contact on the telephone. Really, it's worse than when they're inside. At least you know where they are then and what they're doing. Ah, this is the model, is it?
Yep.
Let's have a look. Sit there. Well, that's good. It's stressful for us as well because we're always thinking, you know, who's going to knock the door now? Usually policemen saying, have you seen him? Where's he been? What's he doing?
I know, but they're all in my bedroom.
Oh, well, never mind. Absconding isn't freedom either because he's away from us. Away from the people that he really wants to be with.
I grew up in a council house, and it was always a struggle to make ends meet.
David Ford was born in Gosport. As a child, he was repeatedly in trouble with the police.
I got busted again for playing truant, and I and another guy decided to steal a 30-foot yacht and sail to South America where there was no extradition. We were about 11 years old then. I took my father's old army haversack, a loaf of bread and a tin of baked beans. We thought that all you had to do was sail out of Portsmouth Harbour, turn left at the Isle of Wight and you'd get there eventually. But we got stopped, before we even cast off. And I think that was the final straw as far as the magistrates were concerned. And they gave me the 3 years at the age of 12 then. And that's when I left home for the first time.
David was sent to Ford Park, an approved school at Newton Abbot, Devon.
David came to us, and I've got an idea it was in the summer, as a smallish boy, physically small, wiry, active, dark, attractive, a perky boy.
Loved it. I loved it. After the initial shock of leaving home for the first time in my life, I loved it. And the reasons I loved it, because I had my own bed, I had my own clothes, most of all, and it's a stupid thing to say, you've got cornflakes twice a week. Never seen cornflakes in my life before. I didn't want to return home when my time come to leave.
When he left, aged 15, David went to work on a Devon farm. Another worker was Patsy Alderman.
It didn't have a very happy atmosphere at all, the farm. It was very cold and damp there. While he was there, he was sleeping in what I termed it as an outhouse. It was just a building attached to the side of the house. He had his bed in there, very little else. David was doing lots of work and living out there, stuck out on his own, on a limb.
David made friends with a 13-year-old boy whose mother worked on the farm. On February the 6th, 1965, they went for a walk across the fields and only David came back. Then, around 6 p.m, David went missing too. The farmer took Michael Alderman to look for him.
We assumed that he would have been making his way to Exeter, so we turned right at the end of the lane to go towards Exeter and keeping our eye out to see if we could find him. And on the third or fourth time of going up the road, we saw him sort of drop into the ditch on the side of the road. I grabbed him. We had a bit of a tussle. He said, run away for murder. And I said, well, murder? Who did you murder? He said, I said, well, how did that happen? He said, behind shed 2, in a bog. I said, well, what did you do? You hit him and he fell in? He said, yes, I hit him. He said, and then I went in and held him under to make sure he couldn't get up.
We've slipped, we've gone down on the ground, we're rolling around on the ground, wrestling on the ground, and then we've ended up in this mud-filled ditch. He's gone in and I've gone on top of him. And I'm sort of, I suppose my knees are on his shoulders and it's forced his head under. And when I got up, I mean, he was just still. I can remember using this long-handed shovel to sort of try and lift him out of it. And what stopped me from going any further, I mean, to this day, I don't understand what it was, but he sort of started to sit up a bit, and it's probably the oxygen or the air that was still in his body, you know. And it just frightened the life out of me. I just left it then. Just left it. I've never actually told anybody that.
David was charged with murder, but before the trial, a deal was struck between the lawyers. David was advised to plead guilty to a charge of manslaughter. No jury was sworn, no witnesses called. The trial was over in minutes. David was sentenced to life imprisonment.
I felt quite numbed because there are a number of reasons. The first one, I was completely overawed by the procedure which took place in court, totally unprepared for it. I didn't have a great deal of confidence in myself at that age when it came to public speaking. And the whole scenario was just something which terrified the life out of me. I could barely see over the dock. I was quite small at the age of 15. The whole thing was just a terrifying experience.
I went to the court to represent David, armed with very, very full reports for the prosecuting counsel and defence counsel, and to present to the court itself if the boy was found guilty of any offence, so that they in turn, helped by my account of his background, could judge what future sentence would be best for him. But on this occasion, because there was no court case, I wasn't called to speak on the boy's behalf at all.
The open-ended life sentence is mandatory for murder, but for the lesser crime of manslaughter, it is given at the discretion of the judge.
Shocked, full stop. I mean, everyone at school was absolutely shocked by this result. We couldn't understand it.
Well, I'd killed him. I'd killed him. I mean, I didn't know there were degrees. You know, I didn't understand that. I mean, killing somebody was killing somebody. I think what you've got to also try to understand that I was in a very emotional state. It was quite a horrific experience anyway. It's something that takes you a very, very long time to come to terms with. And when people often say to me over the years, well, you're not really a killer, etc., but you are.
To kill another boy in the manner in which he was killed was totally foreign and not David at all. He wasn't that kind of boy. He was always open, nice with other boys, and to me, he never had it in him to commit that kind of offence.
It must have been a fight between two boys that went tragically wrong. That's honestly all I could think. A fight that had gone tragically wrong, because he was such a nice boy. My first thoughts were, I'm sorry, I thought he was a dreadful boy, so my first thing was that he instigated it. It had to be him who instigated it.
The victim's school had complained to the police about him, and he himself had made hoax phone calls to the police station.
His mother used to come over and say, please can you come and help? He's beating Uncle Pete up again, and he's being rude and violent in the caravan. And Mike used to go over, my husband used to go over there, and what could he do? He was nearly, well, bigger than him actually in size. He was just a very aggressive boy, not at all pleasant.
David told police that the fight was over a stolen £5 note. But after the trial, he told prison psychiatrists that the victim had propositioned him sexually. If this was true, it could have made a difference to the sentence and may now affect a future appeal.
To me, it would have been a very strong mitigating circumstance as to why David committed this particular offence. But why it was never brought to light, I don't know.
The detective inspector in charge of the case believes, 28 years later, that the crime was a teenage fight that went terribly wrong. That if they hadn't been close to the muddy ditch, it might never have ended in death. On June the 16th, 1965, David was taken to Wormwood Scrubs to begin his life sentence. David Ford's first 12 years in prison for manslaughter lasted from the age of 15 to 27. He served time in 17 different prisons and ended up at Wormwood Scrubs. As a lifer preparing for release on licence, he spent his last 6 months in the prison hostel.
The day that I left the hostel was probably, in many ways, at the time, the happiest day of my life. Because I felt that, well, at long last, it's all over, it's done with. I've paid my dues, and now I can start getting on with life. I was on a roundabout, a merry-go-round that I just couldn't get off, which was basically all about having a good time. Out with women, drinking, gambling. And I was a very, very promiscuous person. I went really overboard with that simply because I'd had so little little experience of women. My drinking had reached terrible proportions. In the space of, I suppose, 3 years, and never having drunk in my life, I was quite capable of putting a bottle of scotch away a day.
David went to Gosport and found a job. For the first time since he was 12, he was home with his 5 brothers. But now his drinking got him into trouble. His crimes ranged from bouncing cheques to criminal damage, crimes for which most people would not be jailed. But as a lifer on licence, David was recalled to prison 3 times.
I just couldn't believe that, having committed my offence so young, that I literally had to forfeit the rest of my life. Although there was freedom, there was no liberty within that freedom. There was, you just walked around literally feeling that you had a ball and chain on your ankle. Lived in fear all the time.
And David Ford believes he should never have been given a life sentence. In the 60s, judges tended to give so-called merciful life sentences to young offenders, the idea being that they would be released as soon as it was safe to do so. The only consideration is the lifer a risk to the public.
He's a petty offender, but also he's a hard worker when he's got a job. He's intelligent. So perhaps he might have been a villain but then settled down, especially if he'd met Julie. I think that she has a very good influence upon him.
When I saw my son being born, it just wiped everything out that had gone before. Suddenly there was purpose in my life. There was something that was a part of me that had nothing to do with prison, the Home Office, the probation. I just looked down at him and I thought, no, this has got to stop now. Because you can't screw his life up. You're responsible for him.
The last time David went back to prison 8 years ago, he'd committed no further crime. He stopped taking the alcohol treatment that was a condition of his licence and was said to have behaved badly. The Home Office can recall a lifer to prison on the advice of a probation officer. One officer said David was a risk to his family. Another disagreed.
There was a suggestion that David was a physical threat to members of his family, yes. I don't believe he was.
How can you be at risk from somebody who won't argue with you, who never loses his temper, won't raise his voice? Where's the threat? There is no threat, no risk.
David went back to prison when Christopher was 10 months old. Although he had committed no crime, he has not been a free man since.
You're not meant to get as messy as that.
Oh, I love this.
Like this. Let me do it.
No.
Come on. Let me start it off and then you can put your fingers in a minute.
Julie has brought up Christopher alone.
I think that's not unusual for you, is it? Look, don't make...
The only time they've met as a family is on the 3 occasions when David has absconded from prison.
He isn't serving time for the original offence anymore. That's been dealt with, that's gone. David is now serving time because he's the unreasonable man. He's awkward. He won't comply. He won't jump through the hoops.
Last year, the Home Office told David Ford that his absconding was immature and impulsive, and he could expect no more sympathetic treatment.
There is an injustice. He's done his time for the offence. He isn't, in my opinion, a danger or risk to the public, and therefore there can be no reasonable grounds for keeping him in prison any longer.
Hello, sweetheart, it's me. Hello. I've got a place sorted for the weekend.
Yeah.
I'll pick the keys up tomorrow.
Yeah.
How's Christopher been? Has he been sort of behaving himself?
Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, he's been
Oh,
alright.
great. Does he know there's a possibility that we might meet over the weekend?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
How's he feel about
Yeah,
that?
he's quite looking forward to it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, see you then.
Okay.
Yeah, take
Talk to
care.
you then.
I love you, sweetheart.
Love you.
And I miss you.
Love you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
The delay 1300 service from London King's Cross, the 1547 intercity service for Barrington Bar and Edinburgh Waverley will arrive platform 2 in approximately 3 minutes.
It's all tucked in.
Oh, I get a look in. Hi. Oh, what a journey.
Platform 2 is the 1547 intercity service for Barrington Bar and Edinburgh Waverley.
What are you going to miss school today?
If you came a conkers in a minute.
Conkers? You bring some conkers with you?
Yep.
Oh, yes.
And I've got strings for them.
Yeah, but I want you hitting my sums.
Yeah.
Tell Daddy how many you found.
200.
He's going to start selling them at school.
Selling conkers at school?
Yeah.
An appeal.
For an appeal?
Help my dad.
Oh, you cheeky boy.
Oh, that's nice. How much are you going to sell them for?
10p.
For 200? That's 20 quid there, mate.
You won't get 10p a conker.
I know, they say it's a waste of money.
Mm.
Wait until they see the size of them.
Big ones, are they?
Got some nice ones, haven't you?
One's about that big.
Oh, it's an old trick, mate, when I was at home.
Mm.
You can harden them up.
Oh,
Oh, I can't say it's
Boil
cheating.
them.
No, it's not honest.
go on.
No. You're going to beat somebody at conkers, mate. You do it fair and square.
Bake them in the oven.
Don't give him ideas.
Right, thanks, Mum.
Well, you've told him.
That's what you do.
You'll be barred from international conker competitions, eh?
It's lovely to see them together. They've got an extremely good relationship. Sometimes I get a bit jealous, actually, because I think, you know, oh, you're too close. I sort of get nudged out of the way a little bit.
A lovely day, isn't it?
Yeah. Always is when we're with you.
We'll have to get down and do some serious talking tonight, then.
I know.
And sort things out. I've got to decide what I'm going to do, how I'm going to do it. I'm going to phone the solicitor, I think, tomorrow.
Are you?
Yeah, I've got to find out where I stand legally.
Right.
I think sooner or later I've got to go back, but I want to make sure that my arse is covered.
Well, you've got to. You can't do it any other way, David. I think he's in a luckier position, really, than some children. At least he's got a dad.
Oh, but he's not there.
Quite a few of them in his class haven't even got dads. At least you care about him.
Schoolwork okay?
I think so, yeah. I think you like school, don't you, Christopher?
where he's dropped from. You tried this? Hungry? Oh, we'll get some food very soon. Yeah. We'll get back home and early night tonight.
Chips are nice.
He copes very well. He's a very switched on young kid. I'm not saying that it doesn't hurt him, because sometimes his eyes give him away when his actions don't.
For the cockpit.
I don't know what sort of damage. Have to have a kid at that age to keep secrets, but it's the only way I can be with him. I don't want this situation to damage him like it's damaged me. It's time it all came to an end, isn't it?
Yep.
What are you thinking this afternoon? I was only 7 years older than him when all this began.
It seems incredible.
I don't want to go back to jail.
Well, we'll always be here. It doesn't matter what you do, does it? We're not going to disappear.
Just supposing I do go back. Everything works out fine. They have to release me. I go back to the appeal courts and I win the appeal. I'll be free for the first time in my life. Absolutely free. That frightens me too.
Why?
Because I've never been free. I'm not sure I know how to handle it anymore.
2 ponies, because you got us girls! Come on, girls, chip cans out from
Yeah, Christmas around here, well, they're now 20 sheep for a pound.
20 for a pound, you're not better, girls, that's all you
Friendly neighbourhood watch. Big lads are coppers, aren't they?
They are.
Well fed.
Well, don't forget, everything looks
It's
different when you're a child.
Good towels are very expensive.
Perhaps, I mean, it's a sign
Anyway,
of
forget about
times.
$14.99.
I used to love it on a Sunday morning when my grandfather used to suggest
I
coming
won't
down.
even charge you 12 quid.
Really
So
right.
you're wrong. Clever
I've
Brits
never
have
seen
stopped
there be so many
guessing
people around, are
They are not 12 quid.
Christmas
I'm
is
going to make them pounds upon pounds cheaper. And I mean a hell of a lot cheaper.
You are a good man, aren't you? You say hello to Grandad for me when you get home?
Yeah.
And Tigger?
Yeah.
And Titch?
Yeah.
What's happening this week is I've got to go and see my lawyer. And we've got 1 or 2 things to talk about this situation. And he seems pretty confident that if I go back, they can resolve the situation. So it could be, if everything works out well, Daddy could be free for good. No more leaving home again. No more being locked up. No more being away from you and Mummy again. But you've never forgotten. Daddy loves you very much. I know you love me, don't you? Bundles? I love you, Bundles, too. Time to go very soon. Come on.
Keep strong, all right? Phone you tonight. Be all right. It'll all work out in the end. Just seeing the people I love go away. They're all I have. All we have is each other.
Does it make you feel you want to do?
Go on fighting it till it's put right, because it's wrong. Paradoxically, surrender for their sake, so they know where I am, so they know that I'm safe. The way I feel at this precise moment, lawyers, judges, they can all go to hell. Too cut up. Too cut up. What I've decided to do after taking legal advice is to surrender. It's very, very difficult to survive out here, being unable to work, feed yourself, clothe yourself, without breaking the law, and I'm not prepared to do that, and I've got to go back. There's this little guy that keeps jumping off my shoulder saying you're an idiot. Why? Why? You've got to be mad. You're giving up freedom. All I'm really doing is that I'm just travelling closer and closer to a prison cell.
Gosport, the wedding of David's youngest brother.
I want to thank you all for being here. I would like another member of the family to be here, but he can't be. Okay? But I would like to say thank you all for what's happened here. I've enjoyed today. You've all been lovely. Thank you. My family, my dad there, who's just about to cry. He must have had a loser. But thanks very much, Dad. Love, Mum. She's a card. That woman's a card. She is a card.
I think I'm going to do anything. It's going to waste time, so I can put it off until the last possible moment. I'm not going to give them a minute that I can keep for myself. I'm not going to give them 1 second that I can keep for myself. It's been going on for 28 years. 21 years of that actually imprisoned. What's left in there is for me. It doesn't belong to anybody else. It belongs to me and the people I love. And I've got to hang on to that at all costs.
I've had enough of jail life, the politics of jail, the stories, the crap that goes down in jail. I want no more part of it. Thanks very much. Good night.
Hello?
Hello, Andy, it's David again.
Hello, David. Where are you now?
Still in Maidstone.
Right.
Right, no, I mean, no disrespect to you, or no disrespect to Edward. I am doing the right thing, am I?
Yeah, you are doing the right thing. I mean, at the end of the day, you've got a choice. Look, I mean, we can talk to it. I mean, you've not made a final decision until I take you to the police station, right? I mean, you can come and talk to me here at my office here now.
Yeah.
But you know that if you don't do something, you're going to be on the run full stop. What sort of life are you going to give you and Julie and the family as a
Well, I
personal
mean,
run?
you're right. I mean, if it wasn't for the fact that I had a wife and child, it would be no problem, rest assured. I could vanish into thin air, no problem at all. No problem at all.
Well,
but
I mean, this is the point. I mean, you can't vanish because you have got someone who loves you dearly.
I've got responsibilities.
You've got responsibilities, and the fact remains is that I mean, the time is right for you to surrender yourself. It's your decision, which you are churning over even at this last minute. It's your decision to give yourself up, isn't it? For which you will get the credit. But what you may find yourself, you might just find yourself arrested when you see Julie or someone, and then you know it's not as good as surrendering yourself.
That's your legal advice.
Once and for all, take and sort this all out, David.
Okay then, Andrew. You'll see me within an hour or so.
All right.
Okay.
See you then.
Okay. Thanks
See
a
you
lot.
soon, David.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Goodbye, everybody. I've got to go. Gotta leave you all behind and face the truth. Mama, I don't wanna die. Sometimes wish I'd never been born at all.
Custody. Thank you, Mr. Ford.
Thank you.
I'm going to arrest you for being unlawfully at large and 4 days in prison. Do you understand that?
understand it.
Okay. I will caution you, do not oblige something you should do so. Whatever you say, maybe take down in writing and give me evidence. Do you understand that?
I understand that.
Okay. David, is it?
Yeah.
Right, you come with me then, David.
In making this film, First Tuesday did nothing to further David Ford's life on the run. David is currently being held in a closed prison in Kent. Julie and Christopher can't afford to visit him there, and they haven't seen him since he went back. As yet, he's heard nothing from the Home Office as to when he might be considered for release. That's all from us for this month. We'll be back in February. Until then, good night.